Okay, we'll do our update on the broader markets, and this is probably the most important because this is really going to dictate the direction that general things go in, including precious metals. So this is a chart of SPX. Start on the daily chart, and so as always, link in the description to the previous video about the broader market update. I'll also add my precious metals update and uranium to see those specific names. Uranium very very bullish. And so you'll notice that in the last video we talked about how this was obviously a really bad sign, right? Like this huge downdraft on Friday, and what that set up for the weekly. Obviously, we had a little bit of consolidation, and so today is August 30th, Tuesday night. We had a little bit of consolidation Monday, this little tiny candle, and then we had follow through today. Bearish follow through. Day 50 of the daily cycle. So we've been declining for about 10 days now. We had our high on day 40. And we've had, let's see if we go back. Yeah, we had a daily cycle that was 54 days. So definitely not unprecedented in terms of how long this is. And very clear downtrend sort of developing here. So you wouldn't be surprised to see, so you have that and then that. So you wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce here and then something like that, right? And it's a question of which one of these becomes our daily cycle low, so we get that little bounce, and then potentially the downtrend kind of continues. And that's where we look for at the weekly chart for Qs. And so if you've been taking a look at my weekly report, it's a written report for those that prefer that sort of thing. I talked about how the levels were very clear. When we did this on the week of the 15th, we made a slight higher high and then came down and then just kind of consolidated. We didn't finish the job. We just stayed up here. That was a bad setup. The next week we got follow through, and this week that was last week, right? This candle, we actually had some back and forth within the week. I mean, this looks like a clear trend lower, but within the week we actually had a pretty furious rally that got snuffed out on Friday. And so we're now getting follow through. Still have three trading days of the week, so things could turn around for sure. But right now, this has the look of a weekly cycle decline, and this is week 11. Just so that we're make sure that we're keeping score, right? And so that it would week 9 would be our weekly cycle high, and then this is week 10. This is week 11. Remember, that day 40 daily cycle high, that's what this weekly cycle high is, potentially. Now, it's possible we could get bailed out, right? Like, this could become a higher low on the weekly, and then we can have another move up, right? That's certainly not out of the question. That's something that you want to be open to. You want to always be open to different scenarios and just kind of know their relative probability, obviously. But that's something that we want to watch for, and obviously the other scenario is something, we already did this, maybe some more down and then up, and then, either way, it's not going to happen in a straight line, and we're going to have counter trend bounces along the way. But right now, it would seem that we started our weekly cycle decline, and it's only week 11. And if we look at the monthly, even more important, right? We had a monthly swing low when we were above this line here, right? We were above this cluster of highs. We've now come below that, and this is setting up to create a bearish outside monthly candle. Now, here's the thing, right? Obviously, August is over tomorrow. There's literally one trading day. So what are the chances this candle is going to go and make a low below this candle here, which is our July candle, this August candle? Very slim. I don't think we're going to close tomorrow. I don't think we're going to get below 37.21 tomorrow. That seems unlikely. But that doesn't mean we can't have that pattern complete itself next month, right? Like, imagine we trade tomorrow, whatever happens, happens. And then Thursday, we have our new September candle. And imagine that September candle eventually dribbles down and makes a new low below this. So that would be essentially the combined August and September candle would become a bearish outside candle of this one. I think that's a very likely scenario. I mean, let's see what the 2-month chart looks like. Right. So this is your sort of 2-month pattern, except the way this is sort of categorized. This 2-month period is actually ending tomorrow with August. So on this 2-month chart, September is going to open as an inside month, and then it's going to be a question: do we make a new low below this low here, which is still that 37.21? So, and this is a good this is a more advanced concept to be sure, but like this is a good example of like the arbitrary nature of the charting software, because there's no reason why the 2-month pattern couldn't start this month, right? So again, the point is we know what the levels are. It's that 37.21 level, and it's funny, like it doesn't matter what time frame you put your chart on, you're going to end up with the same levels because they're significant price action levels. So that's your monthly. And what this is, and what the potential here is that this month 27 was your major low. This was a pretty nice decline. You know, we topped out on month 22. Maybe this was our major low. However, with what's brewing here, we're set up for the prospect that that was not your major low, and instead, so we did this lower high, lower low. This could become a lower high, right? On our way down to the 3-year cycle low that we would expect would be due sometime around March next year, call it like late Q1. So that's what we're watching for. And the more the decline on the daily cycle level unfolds, the more we'll know about how this is turning out to strengthen our resolve for that we're declining into the weekly cycle low. But right now, all of the evidence is pointing to that. Until we get some kind of reversal, some kind of indication of anything kind of changing. And let's just take a quick peek at the yearly chart. Okay, yeah, so it's still pretty solidly red. Not really showing too much differentiation here yet. Okay, so we'll flip over to the Qs. So the Qs, same story, slightly different count. Day 51, same kind of idea. We've been descending for about 10 days now. The weekly cycle, week 11, does look like we started our weekly cycle decline on week 9. Same exact patterns, slightly different levels. Bearish shooter on the monthly, threatening to become a monthly outside candle. For the Qs, that level is 277 that you want to be watching, more or less. And for the Qs, if we look at the monthly chart or the annual chart, yeah, that's looking more bearish. And then finally, let's look at IWM real quick. That one had been outperforming these other indices. So same as Qs, day 51, week 11, same kind of look to it. Again, totally possible we can kind of get our bacon saved. This becomes a higher low and we move higher. Just if that's going to happen, there will be indications and we'll be open to that scenario and we'll position accordingly. Right now, it's the bearish scenario that seems to be playing out, however. And on the monthly chart, and you'll notice in that previous update we did earlier this week, the monthly candle for the Qs was still green. Now, it isn't green anymore. We talked about that. That, again, that means the Qs were outperforming the other indices, but it also meant they were, not the Qs, the IWM, which is small caps, Russell 2000. So they were outperforming the other indices, but it also means they're probably going to get dragged down by them, right? So it's like the relative strength sometimes can only last for but so long, especially if you're earlier in the pullback. So this is setting up the same kind of thing. So for IWM, that's a low below 166.73. So quite a bit of downside there. Now again, because the Qs was outperforming the other indices, it may be that best case scenario is we open as an inside month next month, September, and don't make a new low wherever we end up making, like wherever the low for, July ends up being. Just seems unlikely. So I think what you'll look for is that last line of defense, that 167 level, like the low below here. Like, can we hold that line in the sand? And that'll be the level to really watch. But again, a lot of room. That's almost 20 points lower from here. So a lot of room to play this. And again, big stakes here because this is going to tell us, Are we continuing to decline into the 3-year cycle low, which again wouldn't be due until late Q1 next year? So that would mean a multi-month decline ahead of us, and we're going to be watching very vigilantly for signals of that.